Hi everybody, I'm Martin Spedding and this is Imogen Dillon, our head winemaker, and we're here in the 10 Minutes by Tractor winery, just the quiet before the storm, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're starting to do most of our bottling.
Bottling and vineyards are pretty busy at this time of the year, just gearing up for vintage.
Yeah, we're in the middle of flowering at the moment, which means we're just getting into that really crucial period in the vineyards.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for some beautiful weather for the next couple of weeks.
I haven't been lucky so far, have we?
No.
But anyway, let's not worry about that. But anyway, well, thanks for joining in. We're just going to talk to you a little bit about the Mornington Peninsula and up the hill and down the hill, and our two estate wines we made in 2019, the up the hill and down the hill Pinot Noir. It's a great sort of opportunity to show people the different wines stylistically that we get from those parcels up the hill from down here.
Yeah, it really showcases what the Peninsula can do. Such a small region, really, across Australia, but such diversity in the region itself. And I think, definitely as a business, we're able to show that with the different sites that we have. Down the hill, as we call it, where we are now, in Coolart Road Vineyard, and then we've got some beautiful sites up the hill around Main Ridge area, and we're able to show that in our estate wine.
Yeah, I don't think many people would realise that how small a lot of our vineyards are. On the Mornington Peninsula, a 10-acre vineyard is pretty big actually. So we have a sort of like this sort of tapestry of little vineyards and blocks spread all across the peninsula, and because of its geography and geology and those differences in soils and elevation and aspect in terms of the cool air flows that come off Port Phillip Bay and Western Port and Bass Strait that surround us. We have this quite amazing sort of
microclimate. It's definitely quite a big difference between the warmer sites on the peninsula up through to the cooler sites up to sort of that 200-metre elevation that we have on one of our sites, and completely different microclimates, all still that beautiful cool climate Pinot, but it's really quite different in terms of the fruits and the tannin profiles.
Yeah. In actual fact, we have about 70-odd different parcels that we picked in this last vintage, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot. For a small region, there's a bit of driving around to each site, but we've got, as I said, great diversity, I think, amongst our sites that we have. Yeah,
and so what's interesting for us at this time of the year is that we're actually going through all those different parcels and really assessing barrel by barrel where we think that wine should sit in our sort of in our different tiers of wine that we make. And for the estate wine, we're really bringing together some absolute top premium vineyards, and from down here in Coolart Road, which is our biggest vineyard and where our winery is, and obviously our parcels up the hill, the three original vineyards, McCutcheon, Judd and Wallace, plus the others we've added. We've got 9 vineyards in total now, which is ranging from 2 acres up to about 36 acres.
Densities
and different densities, etc. So it's interesting then when we come together with the selection around the estate wine, just to you really see those differences, don't you? Between the style of wine down here, slightly warmer, a warmer site. Darker fruits. You're getting a different soil profile. You tend to get a very different tannin profile down here, and obviously what we see up the hill. So maybe why don't you talk a little bit about the two wines and what you think?
Start with up the hill. I think up the hill is definitely more of a prettier style of Pinot. It's got that nice sort of delicate aromas and fruit profile. It's definitely more that red fruited Pinot, the finer tannins, and definitely a really pretty style of Pinot, nothing too bolshy. And it really showcases that, that really cool climate Pinot that we do get here. I think it's you get those silky tannins, and it's really got some beautiful fruit weight behind it. Yeah. But it's just overall just a really lovely drink in terms of just nothing too heavy, but really showcasing like an elegance of what Pinot can do on the Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah, and what we typically see with those red volcanic soils, it's about around 200 metres above sea level.
Yep.
We're talking about up to 3 weeks later in ripening and picking than say down here at Coolite Road, down the hill. And you get very much more of that red fruited, sort of more...
All that spice as well, I think that comes through.
You see that in the ridge, don't you?
Yeah, those brambly sort of spices that come through from up the hill can be a little bit site specific, but in a general sense we do get some lovely spice from some of our sites that do end up in our estate.
Yeah, we quite often, if we think about the McCutcheon and Judd and Wallace Vineyard, up in Main Ridge, we talk about those sort of Asian 5 spice or potpourri type characters, and
definitely.
So you really do see that, maybe a lovely detail, lighter sort of fruit weight, but then those lovely mineral tannins. And the interesting thing for us, of course, is that usually in some years we just blend these together. In years where we have the opportunity to do this, we love to be able to make them into 2 wines to really show what those different components look like. And how about down the hill? What do you...
And so down the hill, as I was saying before, mostly, pretty much all of it comes from our Coolite Road vineyard where we are now. So it is our biggest site, but it is 100% Pinot Noir. And it is just really well suited to the soils that we have down here, as well as the climate that's here. So it's quite an open space. We're looking onto Western Port, so you get some beautiful breezes come through, and we've got quite a big selection of different clones on this site. I think each of those different clones just adds a different element of what goes into the estate down the hill. So a bit more of those darker fruits, and definitely the tannin profile is a little bit more of those chewy, succulent tannins, where it's almost like a little bit of a bigger Pinot compared to up the hill. Sort of opposites really in terms of what they deliver, and I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to have 2 Pinots in that estate range where you can see the differences and you're able to compare them both in terms of what a small region like Mornington can deliver.
No, exactly, So it's good fun. I mean, it really does show just that the terroir, the site speaking, and there's a whole lot of detail which we have on our website about some of those differences in the soils and the aspect and rainfall, etc. And for a very small little area to have this much diversity is great fun from a winemaking point of view, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely great fun. We held all our blocks separately as they come into the winery, and that way we get to have a really good look at how those blocks develop over time, as well as what they deliver, where we think they'll really show their greatness in terms of estate or into single vineyard. And we definitely have those blocks that will get into single vineyard, but it'll be more of that barrel selection. So you're looking at some of the fruit that will go into single vineyard, some of it actually will go into that estate range as well. So you're getting some pretty premium fruit coming through into the estate range, and I think you can see that in the depth of fruit and the detail, as it said.
Yeah, exactly. So good fun to open the 2 if you've got enough people around to share the bottles with you, and see
or open them up and have a look over a couple of nights. I think they open up beautifully.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah,
that's
it's
true.
good to look at.
So what I thought we'd do is just to do something a little bit different, is to go and show you a little bit of the vineyards from down the hill out here in Coolite and up the hill. So why don't we do that, and maybe we'll stop in the barrel room on the way.
Sounds great.
All right, well here we are in the barrel room, and this is a small selection of the barrels that we've been tasting through in the last few weeks. And so what have you been seeing when you've been going through the barrels? I mean, clearly we're drinking here the 2019 up and down the hill, but
so we've been looking at the 2021 wines of late, but I think we've seen some similar characteristics in the fruit that we saw in 19. A little bit different vintages, but I think 2021 definitely offers some beautiful fine detail in the Pinots that we're seeing, and some really delicate elements to the Pinot. So we're all pretty excited about 21.
Yeah, and in terms of those attributes we're talking about before, I mean, it's really the down the hill in a great year like 19, you've got a little bit more warmth.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more fruit, generosity of fruit. 21's probably a little bit, sort of more sort of a cooler year, and it's obviously pulled back a little bit. Lovely acidity. Yeah. What do you think those really key attributes are, say, of down here versus up the hill?
I think what we saw in 19, like we're looking at now for these estate bottles, I think definitely the depth of fruit that comes through in the 19 wines. I think we weren't pushed in terms of trying to get the fruit off before wet weather or anything like that. So it was a little bit warm at one little patch, but the fruit was definitely able to ripen under the conditions. And so I definitely think we see some of those, those deeper, darker fruits in the down the hill from 19. You can see that nice juiciness in the fruit, and it's really backed up by those sort of voluptuous tannins that are chewy and a little bit edgy, nice little bit of grip onto them, makes it a really interesting Pinot. Yeah. And I think from the up the hill, when you're looking at the characteristics from that wine, a bit more of those softer red fruits coming through.
Yeah, we're talking about,
yeah.
No, absolutely. And so, I mean, the only thing we were pushing in 19 was trying to get the builders out here.
Yeah, so it was our first vintage in the winery, and it was a bit of a race, but every parcel that we look at for down or up the hill, it's really looked into, and a lot of thought, a lot of thought processes put into where those wines are going to go, right up until that final blending stage, which for 19 we did more sort of that end of January, so it's sort of sitting at about 11 months in oak from when it's pressed off in the winery after vintage, and it's just getting that time to really integrate together, and we're constantly tasting it and seeing if it does need longer in oak, or whether it's hitting that sweet spot where we think the fruit and the tannins are really gelling together, and it's a good time for it to come out of barrel and get ready to go into bottle.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we might move on and have a look at the vineyards. Everyone, we're here at the Coolart Road Vineyard. You can see looking out towards French Island across Western Port, and this beautiful easterly aspect that this vineyard has. The vineyard's made up of a number of different blocks, imaginatively named A to F block, and we're looking out here at F block, E block and D block down further. Some of our best fruit on this vineyard is grown on this little slope here, and we have in each of these different blocks we have different clones, different trellising, different spacing between the vines, all of which gives us a wonderful sort of opportunity to bring different parcels with different characteristics together to make our 10x Pinot, and of course to also come together for our estate Pinot, which of course also comes from, some of which comes from this vineyard. The combination of all these different factors, the differences in altitude, the differences in aspect, the influence of the water bodies around us, they all come together, I suppose, at vintage time, where we can see up to 30 days difference in picking dates between up the hill and down the hill. And those differences, of course, are what you see in the glass as well, and those different styles and different terroirs that show through in Pinot Noir, which makes it such an amazing and wonderful variety to work with. Well, here we are up the hill on the McCutcheon vineyard, and you can see straight away those differences between up here and down the hill at Coolart. We've got these lovely undulating hills as part of the landscape up here in the hinterland of the Mornington Peninsula, and straight away you can see not only the difference in the landscape but also in the soils. We get the sort of much more sort of ironstone and red volcanic stones and clays which dominate the vineyards up here. We're here in the MV6 ridge block, as we call it, about 200 meters above sea level. And between here and where we were down at Coolart, we can have up to 30 days difference in picking dates. So quite different. More rain, cooler, and a very different sort of influence up here from the water bodies around than say what we had down at Coolart Road. And really, that's really what you're seeing in the glass when you're looking at that up the hill and down the hill Pinot. And it's really, I think, very interesting to see these wines made in the same way by the same winemakers from two very different parts of a very small region like Mornington. And yeah, and you can see straight away which ones you might prefer with different sort of food matching or just on different days. Anyway, hope you enjoy, and thanks for buying your little 2-pack for your celebration, and I hope you really enjoy it. And please come and visit us when you get a chance down here in Mornington, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well on 10x Tractor. All the best. Cheers.